Hey everybody. So I wanted to do this tonight, and hopefully, I've gotten it up right away. I'm behind on a couple other video things that I need to put up, but I wanted to really talk about this movie because one, it's rare that I get to go out to a theater to see a film, and two, it's rare that my wife wants to go out, and three, it's rare that my wife picks the movie. So we went out and we saw The Unholy. I know the first one being rare is because, everything's been going on. But we did go out and see this movie, and it's a movie that she wanted to see. It stars Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Carrie Ells, which I didn't even know that he was even in this movie. And then you have Cricket Brown and Katie Elston. And Katie Elston is one of those. I know I keep looking down because I've got to remember that where she's exactly from. But yep, my wife's right. She was on The League. And that's where we both kind of know where she's from. But the movie itself, I'm going to be honest with you. Honestly honest? What the hell? I'm very surprised at how much I actually enjoyed this movie. So as I kind of normally do, I'm going to put across the top here, there's going to be spoilers in this review because I feel it needs to be talked about. And I do think that there could be like a long form version of the podcast for this as well. So maybe in a couple months, maybe I'm going to do this movie. I'd honestly be willing to watch it again just to kind of see if they did anything that was like a little bit more, maybe a little more Easter eggs and stuff like that. So what is the basic story of this movie? You basically, and it starts off very interesting because I didn't know going into it. I know that it's about some girl that she, starts to do miracles, but there's something sinister behind it. That's the basic premise. But there's actually a lot more that's kind of going on. And the beginning of the movie is one of those ones where it's like, oh my God, this is weird, where like you're in first person view looking in on somebody being basically hung to a tree, and then they're nailing a mask to her face, or to its face, but it's a her. I do like that the spiritual entity is a woman in this. I think it fits really well for what they're trying to do, especially since it's all basically kind of based around the Virgin Mary. And so you see that, and then you join Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and he's a disgraced journalist that has written some, he wrote a bunch of fake stories, and he's basically doing like the Weekly World News type of things where he goes out and does bizarre stories for people and gets paid basically nothing, where he was getting paid like 10 grand a story. Now he's making 150, even though he tries to get 200 every time he gets it. So the first half of this movie is honestly pretty good. There's some decent jump scares. They rely on it a little bit too much, and that's what happens, I think, when you get these PG-13 horror movies, is they do a lot of jump scares, and they don't try to psych you out, but at the same time, it does do a little bit of the psychological horror with you, at least in the beginning of the movie, when you're kind of in the town, and you're learning about, Alice, and Alice actually getting her powers to do these miracles, and these miracles are happening. It's interesting. It's funny at the same time because the worst one, like, she heals a kid, and it's not about the kid that's funny. The kid's, he can't walk, and his parents are bringing him, oh, do you think that she'll be able to help me walk, Dad? Yes, son. Yes, if you believe hard enough, son, he will do it for you, or she will, because, I'm sexist and I think everything's man. But when when the boy finally gets healed and walks, you see the father's like, it's so bad. It's the absolute worst. So you have like these things that it's not meant to be funny, but I was cracking up so much on the inside. My wife was cracking up so much on the inside, and probably one of the reasons why I think we both really enjoyed watching the movie tonight. With that, you have Carrie Ells. Like, why is it the last two movies I've seen you in, it's been terrible? Like, your performance has been terrible. What happened? man, I used to really love you. Actually, the last 3 movies I've seen you in, which was the last of the Saw movies, along with Black Christmas and this, all 3 times, pretty terrible. But he plays a priest, and this all takes place in Massachusetts, okay, in the Boston area, like outside of Boston, and he's playing a Boston like cardinal or priest or bishop or something like that. I'm not sure. He's a high-ranking guy, right? Who's there along with his I don't know, Latino counterpart that is there to verify that the miracles are real, and he lays on the thickest Boston accent that that you could possibly get. Oh, that's wicked, eh? Like, okay, now all of a sudden I can't do the fucking Boston accent that I was doing in the fucking car. It's almost like looking at mob like movies, getting all that type of thing. Hey, I'm doing movies over here. I'm priesting here. Don't worry about it, okay? Just don't do it. It's a miracle. We're gonna get it. It's a real miracle. Like, it's so terrible, but it makes me laugh every time I fucking see it. It's maybe it's more like minor spoilers. These are just things I found exciting with the movie. But the thing is that the beginning of it really is like, it's the story of Gary Fenn and him trying to get a real story, and he's found now this real story after the first one fails, and he's found it in this girl Alice that is really performing miracles. And then it's like you're learning about everything that's kind of gone down and how this is sinister. And there are some really cool little things that happen that, show you that evil is there, but some of it's like I said, it's just jump scares. Like, it would be cool if there was no jump scare and you just had this thing, but it's that shit where the music starts like, like, and then there's a jump scare. It's like, come on, dudes, like, be subtle. Like, I get it. You're trying to scare people, and it's not to say I didn't get it. Like, the one in the water got me, and there's like one that's like a transition one that got me. I get it. It's not that bad if you're not expecting it, but at the same time, it's like, can we not rely on it, right? I always talk about The Ring, and what I really loved about The Ring is that there wasn't jump scares, but there was all these cool atmospheric things that they were doing, and they never let you go from that like feeling of terror or dread because they didn't give you a jump scare. And here, it's just like 2 seconds in, oh, here's the jump scare. It's odd that the lady, so it's, like I said, it's a supernatural lady that's going on here, and she's the bride of Satan, and she went and made a deal with the devil so that way that she could live forever. And she does it by getting faith in people and them believing in her, and that's what's gonna be able to make her be stronger and a badder demon, which I think is kind of cool. Like, I think the story it's not terribly original. Like, you kind of know where things are going to go. You know that this journalist is disgraced. You know that he has no faith, and somehow, because we're doing some type of religious-based movie, that he's going to get his faith back by the end of the movie in some way, shape, or form. How is it going to be? Is it going to be a self-sacrifice? Is it going to be, he's just going to all of a sudden believe, there's going to be something that proves to him that, God's up there? What is it going to be? That something's going to happen. It's a little bit of a twist to get to that point, but there's something that I just don't like with when they did the ending. But you have him, and then since he doesn't get the story because it's about cows being mutilated and the cows aren't being mutilated, and then that's when he comes across this girl that's doing the miracles. How it gets to that point, I'm not really going to say, but he does have some hand in it. And then he goes through the rest of the movie, like, basically chasing the story again because he's got the story. Oh my God, I've got the story. This is what's going to get me back in there. And then, of course, as things get weirder and evil's around, he's going to change what it is. Jeffrey Dean Morgan does a really good job. I think the lady from The League, whose name is escaping me right now, the girl that plays with Cricket Brown that plays Alice, and the guy that plays I've forgot who the other father was. Well, the one that's been watching over her. I'm trying to look at the IMDb to make sure that I've got the right name. But the one that watches over her for most of the time, which I think is Father Hagen, played by William Sadler. I think that those 4 characters are really good. Those actors do a really good job. That's it. Like, but everybody else is just kind of either just there or terrible. And even Katie, I'm going to say butcher her name, Aselton, I'm not sure. Even she's like kind of mediocre, but it works. In the context of this movie, it works pretty well. And I do like the relationship that she builds with Jerry throughout the movie. But even though when he does his little revelation thing with her, and she gets pissed for like a second, and then it's, I'm not mad anymore. Everything's cool between us. It's weird. But yeah, so when he finds, and the only way he finds Alice is that she's walking out in the middle of the night, and she almost gets hit by him as, you know, she's hearing voices from Mary. And so she gets her, like, she can hear again because she's deaf, and she can speak perfectly. And then that's where she starts creating the flock of people that are going to follow her. And as you go down the rabbit hole, the big thing is that the demon that is there, that is basically not really possessing Mary, but kind of leading her along, that's where I'm kind of like, I don't really like it. Like, the design of it is terrible. It's really terrible. And they use a lot of CG in the beginning of the movie with it when you see it, and it's not very good. It almost feels like this movie could have belonged back in like 2003, 2004 with the design of her. And then at the end of the movie, they make it a practical demon, which I do enjoy. There actually is somebody there with a costume and doing the movements and doing all of that stuff. That's great. I have no problem with that, but it doesn't look good. Like, the only scene that really looks good is she raises her arm like that, but I can't really do it right because I don't have a claw. And it's almost like the claw from Total Recall, now I'm thinking about it. But she reaches out, and then like flames shoot from the side, and I thought that was really cool. Like, that look, but only if you look at the arms. If you look at the face, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Like, just leave the mask, and it's like these wide ass fucking bug eyes that she's got, and that part's like really fucking terrible. And then she does take the mask off in like the final scene, and it's like it looks terrible again. Like, I just don't get it. You had all this time, but you could have designed this great monster, and you're just designing a piece of garbage. It's weird. I don't know. But strong performances from Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I kind of expected from the guy, because everything that he's kind of done, I'm not a big Walking Dead fan, but like, from The Watchmen to, well, I guess I can't think of the other movies that possibly, I just remember him from The Watchmen. But when I've seen him in performances, I really like him. He's really good in here. He really carries the movie. He is the best actor in this film, and his role has to be good because he's all over the place. It is focused around him, and where I really thought, especially based upon the trailers, that it was going to be focused on Alice and not necessarily focused on him. And that was also kind of a little bit of a shock when watching the movie. The final confrontation, the ending itself, like, it makes sense, but not in the way, I guess, that maybe I want it to make sense. I don't know if that makes sense. Views make sense a lot in that thing. But they definitely set it up, so maybe you could have a sequel. You could have the Unholy 2, Devilish Boogaloo, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, I was just like, when they were going through it, I'm like, wait, this makes no sense. Why would you do what you did because you know what's going to happen? Like, I kind of don't want to spoil that little section of the movie. So overall, I think it's, like I said, it's not a bad movie. It could be a much better film. I think that it could definitely do with less shots of the monster or the demon. And there are some great, like, artist representations of the demon inside this, like, book that gets found. Oh, that scene, too, where he finds this book, where the priest, Father Hagen, finds the goddamn book. It's stupid. Like, that is one of the stupidest fucking parts in the movie because, and this one I am going to fucking spoil because it's so fucking ridiculous. Like, he has a smoking problem, right? And he has emphysema, and then a miracle happens, and then he goes and he's still hiding from her and smoking in places, and he goes and smokes in the church archive that's in the back over there. And when he goes into the church archive, you know, he's there, he's got his lit cigarette up, you know, I am smoking just like I shouldn't do because I'm the priest, and I know that my lungs are killing me, and I'm still going to smoke, and he doesn't really talk like that. But he does that, and then the smoke all of a sudden like trails off and goes behind him, so that it goes into this like hidden thing where he's able to reach in and grab the book. And it's like, wait, you would have noticed this like many times before if you snuck in there all the time to smoke. And I bet you really don't move around much in the room. You probably pick the closest part to the front of the thing, and you probably also shouldn't be smoking in there since it's like the church archives and shit. But you would have never seen that before. Like, this is the time that you've noticed that, so that you can find the book, so you can learn the truth, so you can have a really awkward scene where you find out that the demon has an Irish speaking tongue. It's just weird. Like, that scene too, where I liked it though. I liked the way that it was set up. I thought that was probably the best scene in the movie. If it didn't have, she didn't have that ridiculous accent, the Irish accent, to do the whole telling of the thing. Because I'm like, well, if this supposedly happened back in 1845 where they fucking did it, does she have an Irish accent at that point? Wouldn't she have just that Boston accent? Like, that's a terrible Boston accent, but it's almost, for some reason, I'm going fucking country. I don't know why. But overall, like, I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 nailed masks. I think that it's not terrible movie. I don't think that it's a really good movie. I think this is a movie that if you got together with a bunch of friends and you rented it and split the costs so that it's really cheap and you could just, you know, make fun of a lot of the parts of the movie, I think you'd have a lot of fun. I thought it was fine for the theater. You know, the theater we went to, when it's weird to say, well, it was relatively packed considering that the theaters just opened here in California like a week ago. Yeah, it felt like it was relatively packed, even for a Friday night with all the spacing and everything. So, that's it for this review. King of the awkward endings. But yeah, I hope you guys really enjoy the content on the channel. If you could, like and subscribe, make sure that you go out there. And the big news is that I got my goddamn Twitter account back, so over something really stupid. So make sure that you follow the podcast. All the links down below. There is going to be a review on Total Recall for the podcast this week, and then I've got a bunch of videos that I've got to put together, and I've got to make sure that we get them out. There's going to be a weird one, not a weird one per se, but I uploaded something to my Instagram that was something we did over the weekend, my wife and I, because we celebrated our 14th wedding anniversary over the weekend, and we went to Las Vegas, which was weird at the same time, because we haven't really traveled anywhere in over a year. Well, I haven't. But we went and saw Omega Mart, and we went to the Mob Museum. So I'm going to be putting a video together that's kind of like a amalgamation of the two together and throwing it up on the YouTube and the Instagram TV and all those other things because I thought that stuff was really interesting. And it may be a little bit awkward. It's not something normal for the channel, but I thought it would be fun to show you guys something that I really enjoyed. If you are in the Vegas area, make sure you go check out Omega Mart. It's really, really cool. Like, I know it's probably one of those things, oh, this is like an Instagram thing, because it really kind of is, being an art installation. But at the same time, like, the shit there is really interesting. And I really wish it wasn't as busy when we went, because I would have loved to sit down on all the little computers and do all of the information about what the story is behind everything, because I thought the production was pretty good. But you'll see some of that when we when I go through or upload that, and hopefully get it up this weekend. But thank you guys so much for watching. Again, like I said, like and subscribe. Check all the links down below, and we'll catch you next time on one of these reviews. See you soon.